This is stuff you like, you can call me Ursa, and Hogfather is gorgeous, but 3 hours long. And the first 90-minute episode is glacially paced. The second one has more go about it, though. I'm not sure what it is about Sky 1 2-part dramas that means that is the case, but there it is. To the people who guessed the subject of this episode correctly, good job. The plot, it goeth thusly. The Discworld is a magical land on the backs of 4 elephants, themselves on the back of a giant turtle. The Discworld is run on the laws of magic and a lot of narrative causality. Narrative causality. Believing makes it so, third sons always get it right, and 1,000,000 to 1 chances turn out 9 times in 10. The book series is brilliant and you should read it. Start with Sam Vimes if you're into mysteries, or if you like Shakespeare, you should start with The Witches. Those are the 2 best sub-series, I think, though the Tiffany Aching young adult sub-series is also very good. Actually, they're all pretty fantastic, I'll be honest. Back to the plot. The auditors of reality wish people to stop believing in things because beliefs are messy and interfere with the filing, so they hire an assassin to kill the Hogfather, who's totally not Santa, in order to destroy belief and make people just, mindless automatons who can't tell stories anymore. Death finds out about this and wants to stop it, but as a creature of belief is bound by rules. So he gets his granddaughter, it's a long story, Susan, to interfere on his behalf, by employing some cunning reverse psychology.
Besides, it's against the rules.
Yeah, well, of course that's a shame, really, because she likes to break them, doesn't she?
You might think I've already thought of that, but I couldn't possibly comment.
She has to chase the crazed assassin Teatime.
Jonathan Teatime, at your service.
You mean like around 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Save belief in the world, and such and such. In the meantime, Death delivers presents to children to keep them believing while the Hogfather is missing. And eventually Susan saves the day and all's well. So, there are 3 interesting things about the Hogfather Sky 1 miniseries, and the first is that it really wants to be a sort of lavish, moving novel. Which is hardly a surprise, to be honest. There's a lot of narration, they pay a lot of attention to visual details, and aside from some interesting CGI, it is gorgeous. And really long. The first 90 minutes go by, eventually, but it's pretty slow. We're working very hard to establish the scene. Probably too hard. Plus, child acting can be a little bit hit or miss. I really love the books, but I think this was one of these occasions where they could have cut a lot out and had a much cleaner and more accessible story, and it wouldn't have been slightly over 3 hours long. And the second interesting thing is that it's explicitly about the power of belief. Death tells Susan at the end that the Hogfather is a belief, a lie, to ease you into believing big lies like truth or justice or mercy, because these things do not measurably exist until they are created by funny little people in their funny little people brains. Which is pretty much an accurate summation of Terry Pratchett's views on the universe, so that's cool. But we already talked about beliefs in the Galaxy Quest episode, so let's move on to the third interesting thing. The third interesting thing about the miniseries is that Susan and Teatime's relationship has become a full-blown thing. I mean, people shipped them before after the book was released, but not quite like this. In the book, there's much more of a straight-up hero-villain dynamic, and Susan loathes him. I mean, she doesn't hate him, because Terry Pratchett would say that hate is the opposite of love, and therefore just as exciting. She just loathes him. He's as cracked as a funhouse mirror, and he's doing bad things, and she will stop him. Incidentally, Mark Warren is clearly having tremendous fun as kind of Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka gone homicidal.
I bow, but I'm afraid you'd do something dreadful.
But in the miniseries, well, let's just say it's really easy to put on your shipping goggles when Susan and Teatime finally meet, which isn't terribly surprising. There's a lot of tension, or antagonism anyway, in their relationship, and everything else is taking a really long time to happen, and there's a lot of physiological arousal going on, so it makes it easy to get confused. And arousal in the physiological sense can be caused by hot coffee, or roller coasters, or seeing someone who you really fancy, or many, many things. We'll talk about misattribution of arousal some more in a later episode, because I think it's a really interesting topic, and I've got it all planned out. Oh yes, I have a plan. But for now, let's talk about how you make people think that your characters are really hot for one another, whether they are or not. It's really easy to suggest sexual tension between characters in a visual medium, especially if those characters are antagonistic towards each other. Because a lot of the same cues for intimidation and aggression are quite similar, visually speaking, to those for passion and attraction. And because the symptoms of physiological arousal go like this. Your adrenaline is spiking. Your heart is racing, so you breathe more heavily because you need more oxygen, and probably you have a flushed face to go along with that. Are you breathing hard? Feeling afraid? a little bit off kilter. Human beings are notoriously bad at determining why we feel the way we feel. Like, for example, everything is awful and sad. When did you last eat? Or go outside? Oh, yeah. That. And so if you're feeling a little hot under the collar and there's someone else around, then you might just stick that feeling to them. See the Capilano suspension bridge experiment for more on this, but like I said, we'll talk about it some more later. But yeah, if you see two people on television trying to intimidate each other and there's a lot of staring and invasion of personal space and heavy breathing and, low growling noises, why not belligerent sexual tension? I mean, some properties go out of their way to suggest it. In a book, you'd have to slow right down and kind of describe all of that, but in a visual medium, nope, don't need it. Just need your actors and their dilated pupils and their heavy breathing and their flushed faces and their micro-expressions and their whatever. In the scene with Teatime right before Susan knocks him off a balcony, there's violence and hair pulling and heavy breathing. Yep, that's pretty UST-rific. I mean, in real life that would be just genuinely straight up terrifying, but as I mentioned, the line between intimidating and attractive is a lot blurrier on television. Probably because it's not actually happening to you. Which is why it's everywhere. I mean, have you ever wondered where people get some of their really wacky out there ships from? Yeah, just look again. Because anytime you use one of these visual cues, you are unintentionally, possibly, setting yourself up for shipping of that couple, or threesome, or foursome, or whatever. Because yeah, getting in close and personal might mean they really, really hate each other. Or it might mean they secretly want to jump each other's bones. It's film. It could be either. Of course, in real life, this doesn't really transfer at all. Because no, I'm not being hostile to you because, of our deep, unrequited passion. I'm being hostile to you because you're a creepy, ill-mannered lunatic. Please go away. But in fiction, our love will be forever beautiful. Regardless, Hogfather the series is definitely worth a watch, though I will warn you that the first 90 minutes are pretty darn slow. Hogfather isn't my favourite Discworld book. I mean, heck, it's not even my favourite Susan-related book. That would be Thief of Time. But it is a pretty good intro to the Discworld, all things considered. So Merry Christmas, or other winter festival, happy Hogswatch, and I will see you in January for the only iPhone app I've ever actually paid money for, plus a year of episodes in which I discover that, wow, everything is owned by Disney nowadays. Also, there will be more books. Because yay, books!